Why Friends is still hilarious. Love, money, jobs, and the legendary pivot. Have you ever watched Friends and realized that these people are technically adults, but half the time they have absolutely no idea what they're doing? That's actually what makes the show so relatable. Everyone is dealing with something different. Relationship drama, money problems, career struggles, family issues, and just trying to figure out what they're supposed to do with their lives. And somehow, every serious situation turns into comedy. Take Rachel, for example. She's trying to convince herself that Ross and Emily's relationship isn't going to last. She's already predicting their breakup before they've even had a chance to enjoy their relationship. It's basically the classic breakup defense. When you don't want to accept reality, you create a version of reality that makes you feel better. Rachel is so confident about it that you almost start believing her. But everyone around her can clearly see what's happening. And that's one of the funniest things about Friends. The characters don't always say what they're actually feeling. They joke about it. They pretend they're okay. They act confident. And then 5 minutes later, their emotions completely expose them. Then there's dating. And Friends might have one of the funniest translations for dating language. Someone says, "We should do this again." And you're thinking, great, they liked me. But your friend immediately translates it. You're probably never seeing them again. That's brutal. But it's also incredibly relatable. Dating comes with an entire secret dictionary. It's not you. I'm really busy. You're such a nice person. We should stay friends. Sometimes those sentences don't mean what they literally say, and Friends takes that uncomfortable reality and turns it into a joke. Then we get another very real adult problem, money. Some friends have more money than others, and that can make something as simple as going out to dinner feel like a major financial decision. Everyone says, "Let's go somewhere nice." And you're smiling on the outside while thinking, okay, how many kidneys am I willing to sell? That's the kind of humor that works because it's painfully relatable. You want to spend time with your friends. You don't want to be the person who says, "I can't afford this." So you go along with the plan and silently regret it later. And then, when someone gets a promotion, you'd think the money problem would finally disappear. But no, now they want to celebrate somewhere even more expensive. So the problem just changes. That's classic Friends. And then we get into career problems. Losing a job can completely change how you see yourself. At first, being unemployed sounds amazing. No alarm, no boss, no meetings, no commute. You can sleep late and do whatever you want. But eventually reality hits. You start cleaning things that didn't need cleaning. You reorganize the refrigerator. You go to the bank, then the post office, then the dry cleaner. And suddenly you've completed an entire week's worth of activities in one afternoon. That's when you realize, I need a job. But the funniest part is that unemployment isn't just about losing money. It's also about losing structure. When your entire routine disappears, you suddenly have to figure out what you actually want to do with your life. And that's exactly why the career struggles in Friends feel so relatable. Everyone wants to have a dream, but sometimes you don't even know what your dream is. And that's okay. Then, of course, we have Ross. Ross is dealing with relationships, family drama, career problems, and somehow still finds the time to have one of the most ridiculous battles in sitcom history, a couch. Moving a couch should be simple. You carry it upstairs, you turn it, you put it in the apartment, done. Except Ross has a problem. The couch doesn't fit. So what does he do? Does he stop? Does he rethink the plan? Does he call professionals? Absolutely not. He starts yelling one word, pivot, and then he keeps yelling it again and again and again. Everyone knows the couch isn't moving. Ross knows the couch isn't moving. The staircase knows the couch isn't moving. But Ross refuses to accept reality. That's what makes the scene so funny. It's not really about the couch. It's about Ross believing that if he just says pivot loudly enough, the laws of physics will eventually cooperate. And somehow, that makes the situation even worse. Then we have Monica. Monica doesn't just like organization. Monica needs organization. Her apartment has a system. Her refrigerator has a system. Her closet has a system. Everything has a place. So when Chandler discovers that Monica has a secret closet full of completely disorganized stuff, it's hilarious. because the person who always seems to have everything under control actually has one giant mess hidden behind a locked door. And honestly, that's another reason the characters feel real. Nobody is perfect. Someone can be incredibly organized and still have one completely chaotic part of their life. Chandler could easily make fun of Monica, but instead he accepts her. That's what makes their relationship work. They can tease each other. They can embarrass each other. They can drive each other crazy. But underneath all the jokes, there's genuine affection. And that's really the heart of Friends. These characters are constantly struggling. Someone is broke. Someone is unemployed. Someone is heartbroken. Someone is confused about relationships. Someone is dealing with family problems. And someone is just trying to move a couch up a staircase. But whenever something goes wrong, the group is still there. They give each other terrible advice. They make fun of each other. Sometimes they make the situation even worse. But they show up. And that's why the comedy still feels warm. The characters aren't perfect. They don't always make smart decisions. Sometimes they make unbelievably terrible decisions. But that's exactly why people connect with them. Because real life is messy. Relationships are confusing. Money disappears. Jobs disappear. Plans fail. And sometimes the best thing you can have is a group of friends who will sit beside you while everything falls apart. Even if one of them is yelling pivot at a couch that clearly isn't going anywhere. That's what makes these moments from Friends so memorable. They're funny because they're exaggerated, but they're relatable because underneath the comedy, they're about real problems. Love, money, career, family, friendship, and trying to figure out what you're doing with your life. Maybe that's why people can watch these scenes years later and still laugh. Because even when life changes, some problems never really do. You still have awkward dates. You still have bad days at work. You still have money problems. You still have family drama. And sometimes you still need your friends to tell you that everything is going to be okay, even if they have absolutely no idea what they're talking about. And if you ever find yourself stuck in a difficult situation, just remember one thing. At least you're probably not trying to move a couch up a staircase with Ross Geller.